I could go in the ring with you right now and make you look like $1 million.
You could? Ring the bell. Johnny RODZ. Johnny!
Well, coming from Puerto Rico doesn't stop you from being a wrestler. It's who knows? Puerto Rico has all kinds of athletes, but in the sense of anything. But I mean, when I came here, I was 11 and a half, and I have no idea I'm going to be anything, especially a wrestler. So starting the point about being a wrestler, when I was young, 13, 14, I was already doing a little boxing and trying to do a little judo because I joined the judo club and trying to do, I never played baseball or basketball. Well, I did a little bit in junior high, but I never liked ball playing. I always loved the fighting sports or whatever the heck is wrestling and all other stuff, 11 and a half. It doesn't matter what age you are. I was born up in the hills of Puerto Rico, way up in the hills with guys. I come from where there is no light, no electricity, no running water, no gas, no nothing. You're up with the Indians, way up in the hills. That's where I was born. I mean, I'm not. There's no shame in saying I'm a hillbilly. I'm a hillbilly, born in the hills of Puerto Rico and raised in the concrete jungle here in Little Italy, in New York.
Nice. So Johnny, how do you break it to your parents so you're going to become a professional wrestler?
You don't break it. It doesn't happen. You grow over here from 11 and a half. By the time you get out, actually, how can I finish school? At 11 and a half, I'd never been into school except for a month in Puerto Rico, and they took me out and brought me here. And at the age of 12, they put me in the 4th grade. How the heck do you learn your ABCs in English? And how do you start to speak English? How do you start to do anything like timetables? You could call yourself a dummy, but that's not your fault because you never been to school until that time. So from there on, you continue. You're trying to learn English. You're trying to learn you're trying to learn something. By the time you're 15, 16, 17, you're already in junior high. And what do? Your grades are moronic. You got nothing to. There's nothing that you know that is anything special. Like my grandson right now, he goes around saying ABC all day long. He's singing it right to the end. Oh, I know my ABC. And I look at him. I said, look at that. He's not even 4. He already knows how to use the tablet. It happens where you do things. I did jiu-jitsu when I was 14, 15. The real jiu-jitsu, the Chinatown jiu-jitsu with my friend who was the super son who was already 18, and he used to use me for a punching bag. But you learn the hard way sometime. And then did a little bit of boxing, because I wanted to get into boxing, but my mother never let me, and I hide around. And then I did a little amateur wrestling at the YMCA and stuff like that. And when we first got our first Dumont round TV with the antenna, and all my mother watched was boxing and wrestling, and she was a fanatic of wrestling, and we're all fanatic of wrestling. And then you start to like it, and you become a fan, and then you keep going, and before you know, you're involved. My way of learning pro wrestling was not like the elite guys that come from the from the north and the south and all these big states that football players, Olympic wrestlers, whatever the heck you want to call them, and they come with the elite name, you know. Uh, I'm from the, like I said, from the hills of Puerto Rico, from the concrete jungle of New York, and you know, real hardcore. And you're lucky to knock on the door and you get a chance to get in, and before you know, you're involved with pro wrestling. 1963, my fourth match in 1963 was on the old Madison Square Garden when Bruno took the belt from Buddy Rogers in about 3 minutes.
Wow.
And that night, I was called in by Arnold Skoll and told me, come and bring your bag. You might do a substitute. And Bruno brought a guy from Pittsburgh, about 300 something pound and about 6'2", 6'3". He was a state trooper, friends of Bruno, and I worked with him on the garden for 15 minutes. That was my first win on the garden, and in 15 minutes they put me over. So that was my fourth shot in pro wrestling. Wow. My first one was in Comac, Carolina. The second one was in Sunnyside Garden, and the third one was in Trenton, New Jersey, and the fourth one was in the Garden, and then from there on, the rest is history. Well, when you're a fan until you break out of it after you've been in the business for a while, and knowing Bruno being at that time my first superstars that was like Antonino Rocco and Miguel Perez and Ricky Starrs and the Graham Brothers and Skull Murphy and Rube Bernard and all those characters that were, you know, big shots in at that time. But when you become one and you're sitting in the same dressing room with these monsters, you start struck, you know. But you're walking around just thinking that you're like them, you know. Your chest is up, your arms are out, even though they're not big enough. You're lucky. You want to get a cauliflower ear or something. I don't know. It's when God puts you in a spot, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. That's what happened to me, you know.
What kind of person was Bruno? If you can share with us.
Bruno was always a gentleman, a scholar. Bruno was always a good guy. Bruno was the years I spent in my business. I was friends with Bruno, Dominic DiNucci, Cicluna, all those names that I'm mentioning. That we're all pals from the beginning. I started till they die.
Thoughts on Buddy Rogers? As a person.
Buddy Rogers, no problem. And then he was here in the beginning. He was away, and then he came back, and we're still pals.
Did you notice any heat, considering you were there that night, between Buddy and Bruno?
Well, the heat that when put it this way, I told Jerry Briscoe just a couple of weeks back the same thing. I was in the dressing room like a fly on the wall, sitting there because it's my first time and just a rookie, and I heard loud noises in the other room, but I won't dare to go over there and check because it's none of my business. I was just sitting in the corner somewhere waiting for going on the, I think it was the second match of the third that I wrestled, and then I just sat there, waiting for to see what goes on. And I heard the commotions, but it wasn't nothing that it was my business. I didn't think it was a fight or anything like that. Then they come out to go to the arena, and looks like everybody is sneaky following. And I said, well, if everybody's following to see, and go out to the hall and look between the curtains, and you can see the ring, you hear the belt. They announce the name, you hear the belt, and 3 minutes later, then the winner is Bruno Sammartino. So you wonder, wow, that was a fast match.
That went quick.
That's what I thought. But they come back to the dressing room. Everybody goes following back to the dressing room, and I could see that everybody was doing it. But I stayed watching the rest of the matches because I was too dumb to know that there was a shoot. But that it was a shoot because they probably said, as far as I know, is that they probably told Roger, let's work this out and run the belt. But Roger probably just wanted to be a draw or disqualification or something like that. And he didn't want to drop it, so they probably said, okay, no problem, we go to disqualification, but they suck them. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Bruno was having none of it.
And that's how it happened. That's how it happened. After I know many years later, I know the truth because that's what it happened. But the Vince McMahon Senior, once you get started, you really don't meet Vince McMahon Senior until you go to the Garden. And the first time I met him is that same night that we're talking about that deal there. The rest of the times he's always around in the big arenas in the Garden and in Philadelphia and Washington D.C. and Baltimore, places like that. Maybe Boston, any big arena that there was running through the month or whatever. Vince McMahon Sr. would show up, and he was a gentleman and a scholar. I'm proud of myself that I tangled with Tom and Dick and Harry, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I'm still here. And not only still here, but I'm teaching guys in my club the way the real game's supposed to be for them to be pros if they want to stay in the business, not to be doing independent shows and jumping all over the place and doing all kinds of high spot at the age of 18, 19, 20 to the 40s, and then they think that they're stars and they got wife and kids or something like that, and then they break their neck, they break their arms, they crack their ribs, and by the time they're 50, 55, they haven't got into the business, and then they think they're pro wrestlers, and that's not the game. Oh, comparing, there's no comparing. Junior, as far as I'm concerned, he can put his tights on, his boots on, and stand in front of me in Madison Square Garden, and I'll beat him in about 60 seconds. And I swear to God, they don't take me long to have them on the floor in 60 seconds, maybe less, because it only takes me. I'm good enough still to hear his and to be his old, if you understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
I mean, I could kick him so hard that he'll forget his name.
What makes you want to kick him so hard, if I can ask?
Because he's no class for comparing to his father. Mm-hmm. And and it's not that I don't like him. There's nothing about liking. It's that he ruined the business for Tom and Dick and Harry, who I said before, there's a lot of kids and a lot of people who love the business. They want to get in it, and this guy took the world and turned it into for himself, like a Hitler. And now it's all them. It's in that. It has no. There is no other promoters. Arnold Skolin was the booker of the control of Vince number one man running the towns, and for years, and then Angelo Saboldi came in behind, and then Tommy Dick and Harry and Gorilla Monsoon came behind, and then Jay Strombo came behind, and they had a slew of them. And then when Junior started to become involved, he also, he was just waiting for his father to die so he could come in with his big, It's not that he's rude, that I don't have nothing elite that he thinks that I'm supposed to be taken care of, Otherwise, they don't they don't think that way. They want their boys, I hate to talk like this, but to them, you're no freaking body. You understand? They don't have no respect in the sense that without me, you're not going to have nobody to be put over. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then when you put people over, you put them over with heart and not with hate. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the business. It's not them and it's not you. It's a freaking business, the way the business is. And the business is a great game. It's a beautiful game. It's a pro game. If you know how to do a pro. He changed the business. He said he was going to do it. He said, I'm going to bring this. I'm going to bring this universal. He did, I mean, he's been down. He promoted every. Who promotes in Arabia? Who promotes in India?
Right.
Nobody. Nobody
Right.
ever. They have wrestling in those countries, but it's not our kind of wrestling.
Right.
The Indians have they wrestle on the beach, and the Hindu been wrestling all the centuries. So it's in Arabia, so it's in Greek, so it's everywhere else. But when Vince was doing here, and every promoter in every state were doing beautiful, and wrestling was beautiful. Every state had beautiful talent, and they share the wrestlers. They come back and forth to different states, and everything was so great. And no, he just took it and he slapped everybody in the face and took the power and went and put TV on everybody else's territory and spat on everybody and did whatever he has to do. He couldn't care less. Like I said, he's a Hitler. I wrestled Tom and Dick and Harry that came in to try to see if they're gonna make it, for them to use it right, to make them a star so that we can make money. So who else is better than me to know what to do with a freaking guy to make him look good? One and only, the unpredictable one. And I'm not unpredictable. Vince, my man, used to say that. Junior, he said, "Oh, Bruno, look at this guy. He's the one and only. He's an unpredictable one. We never know what this guy's going to come up with." Well, he enjoyed every minute of me. That's why he called me unpredictable. So from there on, that's all it is, the unpredictable one. What the heck do I do in the ring? Whatever comes to mind, I'm going to put it out. People like it, hate it, doesn't matter. That makes me number one.
I remember you wrestling Ivan Putski at Shea Stadium.
Oh, Ivan Putski.
1980.
I could eat him with my eyes closed. He ain't he wasn't. He was just a put over guy. I don't have nothing against the man. He's okay. Just that they put him over and he believed it. And when I work with him, and if you're gonna count 1, 2, 3, and after I finish, I'm on the floor, and you're gonna put your foot on top of me and raise your arm, I'll kill you. You know why? Because I'm a man. You cover me, and you beat me. That's it. It's all over. But if you beat me because you're going over, not because you beat me. The hell with you. I'm not. How do you say? Hulk Hogan weighs 300 pounds and 6'6" and whatever. He could blow up too, just as good as any little guy.
Did Vince ever let you out?
To like other places?
No, he doesn't have to let me out. Whenever they needed to put somebody in a certain spot, like in Toronto or Montreal or anywhere that something was going on, that they needed something to explode, I wind up there for a week or two. I went to Carolina just to help the TV. So Vince says, "Johnny, we go to Carolina and work on the TV for the week." So I go over there and I work with Wahoo McDaniel and I work with Ric Flair, put them over, and they go over like $1 million. They don't have freaking bodies to put nobody over in those days. It's very rare. They take a guy, they put him over, and after your guy don't like it, he'll probably leave because he feels like he doesn't want to do no job. With me, it doesn't matter. I go to Canada, I go to Texas, I go to here. Only because it's a special week or two, and that's it. I go to Japan for 5 weeks. I was there 5 times, but that's the best deal you could get because you're going to work for Baba and the other guy and things like that. My biggest count was when I went to Pennsylvania. I went to California to do Jabaruk. Well, that was in 1976, at the end of 76. I told Jerry that joke there. We did Philadelphia TV, and we went to Reading, Pennsylvania, to do the second TV. And Hamburg, Reading. We used to stay there at the hotel in the Crystal Room. Vince used to go over there and sit with big shots to eat steaks in the Crystal Room restaurant while we running around eating pizza and hot dog. And I was there one night, and Mike LaBelle and Gene LaBelle in California, they had the Sheik, the original Sheik, there for quite a while. but because at the beginning he was drawing like a firecracker, but after a while, you know how he drew. They did the cut all the time. There was always blood, 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 blood. Every match they did, every main event, it was blood, 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 right? So after a while, how much blood can the people see? So the houses weren't not coming up at all. But yet they like his gimmick, but they don't like the idea that the house is going down because people got tired of looking at the same all the time. So Vince, Mike LaBelle asked Vince, "You think maybe we could get Johnny over here and do the Jabba thing, the gimmick, like they are?" Well, I was hanging around the hotel, and Ernie the Cat Lat was with Vince, and Vince says, "If you see Johnny down the hallway somewhere, tell him I want to see him because that was the night he was there. He didn't want to tell me. He wanted to ask me if I want to go to California and be the next Sheik while they got rid of the other guy." I told him, "Yeah, the money's good. In 1976, I won $1,500 a week. If I could get $1,500 a week and support my family in New York, and then be able to do that, I'd be glad to do it because then they're going to do the 22-man battle royale. I'm going to win it. You're the biggest thing in the wrestling business for a year. You follow that?"
So Johnny, they told you were going to win that battle royal.
Of course.
And
Nice.
that battle royal was won by Bruno and Andre in previous years, correct?
The battle royale, everybody in hell that is in the business, that is a big some kind of name or some kind of something, winds up there for 22 men. Every year there's a 22 men. That's the biggest. That was WrestleMania in those years.
Right.
There was no WrestleMania.
Right.
And then I came back because they messed with my money,
Okay.
and I left them.
Oh.
I came back home
Okay.
to Vince. And then in 1977, I had to go back, and they did another one for 77. Vince said, "Go back and help me fix the bridge." And I went back, fixed the bridge for him, and I came back home. But I was the winner for the 76 total.
Johnny, how did you come up with the Java Rook name?
One day we're in Pittsburgh doing TV. We were in Pittsburgh to do a couple of shows, and we're going to do TV, and he wants to put me on, but he doesn't want to put me on as Johnny RODZ because I've been there as Johnny RODZ, and it's not hot enough. He says, "Maybe you could do an Arab gimmick." So, but I'm there, and I don't have no Arab get up. So I cut up a bed sheet and 4 ways, and I made this gimmick, and I took a piece of red thing and put it around my my head, and I made the name Java Rook, and then I went in the ring and woo, and I wrestled Tony Marino, Batman, and we had a little scraffle where they had to separate us, and that's the born of Java Rook. Roddy Piper was a Canadian kid, and he came. The age of 14, 15, 16, or 17, he was in Canada doing bumps and getting little shots here and there. And whoever helped him, I don't know. I knew, but I forgot. And then somehow, at the age of 18 or something like that, he escaped through Oregon because he's a Canadian with no visa. And his sister was already married to somebody and lived in Oregon, so you know where Oregon is. It's down that way. And he escaped from Canada into Oregon, stayed with his sister. From there, he went and got connection to play a little bit through there and all the way to California. And by the time I got in California, he was there for, I guess, for a year or half a year. I don't know. They were giving him half a year visas, and he really wasn't making money, making $600, $700, maybe $1,000, and young guy like that, and running around with Ye York and all those guys. By the time it's payday the next Tuesday, when we get paid, he probably broke, because he's young, drinking beer, jumping around, and he wasn't really a big star or nothing. He was just a regular worker, whatever they say have. And then I come in, they put me over, I have no manager. I have nothing going on. I'm just by myself. And I decided I saw him with a good, whenever he did promos or something, he had a good mouth on him and he had the flute. So I said to him, well, I live in the same place with him, different room, but in the same hotel in Santa Monica. And I said, brother, I said, it'll be nice if I could talk to these son of a guns in the office and make you come with me with the flute and control the Arab. The Arab is crazy. You could control him. And he thought it was a good idea. So I said, let's go to the office and talk to them. I went to the office and they said, nah, he's a baby face. We're going to do this with you. We're going to get you a girl to do the smoke and all that. This is 1 week. The next week, I did the same thing with him. The same nah, we're trying to figure it out. Maybe. But then the third week, they said, come on down, guys, come on down about 10 o'clock to the office. We want to talk to you. We actually thought something was wrong. We go to the office, hey, we got a great idea. The cigarette sign they used to say, I'd rather switch than fight with the Winston cigarette, with the cowboy with the black eye.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, so the book, I forget his name now. He says, Tom Ernesto, I think is his name. So he says, we got a great idea, Piper. This week TV, you're going to work with Rook, and it's 3 minutes, the bell ring. Rook, you beat the out of him. You fucking run out of the ring, grab the mic, and you tell everybody, the hell with it. I don't want to wrestle this guy. I want to control this Arab. I want to be his manager. I'm gonna make, and then the people stopped going, and then we thought it was so we told them, oh, it's a great idea. And we went back to the hotel and we got drunk because it wasn't not their idea. It was my idea, but that they wanted it and they said that it was their idea, so we took it. And from there on, we were hot as a firecracker. We even got shot at Bakersfield and Lancaster when we worked over there with Chavo and all his boys. Chavo was hot because he was champion, and we had the Mexicans were shooting at us. You could hear the bullets in the bleachers. So we got hot as a firecracker, but then they were playing with my money, and I told them, if you play with my money, I'm going to go back home. I'm not going to give you 2 weeks or 3 weeks notice, and you don't do it. Then I took my shoes and to hell with it, and I came back. And then Vince says, you're going 77, you got to go back and fix my bridge. I said, okay, Vince, no problem. I have no problem with Vince. And that's how Brady Piper started to. When I went back in 77, he had a brand new convertible Chevy Impala, red and black, and he was making money, and he was a big shot. The rest is history. Piper was a hell of a worker.
You remain close with him in the years later?
He was Piper. I never had a problem. He's a good guy. A happy-go-lucky Scotsman.